Hello, my name is Yael. You may know me as Light. I wanted to make a series of vlogs or something like that to hopefully improve my English speaking capabilities and skills. And I was just done recording this video when my phone decided to stop, so hopefully this will be somewhat better. This series of videos is about getting me to talk more English, speak more English, so I could have some practice. Practice is something you don't really think about when you set on a goal to learn a new language. You just wake up one day and you say, hey, I want to learn Spanish, or hey, I want to speak Japanese because of all the animes I watch. But after a while, after learning the grammar and learning some vocabulary, you find yourself stuck, just not being able to talk to anyone. You can't hold a conversation. You might go to Japan or Spain or Mexico and be able to understand the people around you. But when it comes to you speaking back, you can't. You simply can't, because you haven't developed that skill, the skill of speaking. Language usually has, I want to believe, or maybe it is like that, I don't know, I'm not a professional. Language can be separated into two categories, one being written language and the other being spoken language, where written language you can either read or write, where the spoken language you can either speak or listen to. And you can learn a language from one or the other or both, but learning by listening or by reading won't help you develop very much your ability to speak or write on your own, and that is something you have to do actively. And that's what I wish to do with this series of videos. That is goal number one. The second goal is to get some exercise, because I like sitting in front of my computer and I don't go out much. And if this is going to be the only video in this series, it's gonna suck. I mean, it sucks that I set up a goal and drop it immediately. I will have more chances to speak with people online, over Discord, or maybe face to face when I travel around, but not using this opportunity to stand up and walk. That would be a shame. So that's goal number two. Goal number three is to maybe be entertaining. You are watching me right now, assuming you haven't clicked out. So I hope to be somewhat entertaining. I do want to voice opinions or explain things that I might know and you don't on various topics. Hopefully it will be interesting. Hopefully you learn something. And people have different goals in life. I really want to teach people things. I don't want to be a teacher, but I like passing on information from here to other people. I'm currently walking outside an industrial zone into the fields. Towards a highway. I wish it wasn't a highway, because it would be vastly quieter. But that's the route I found, and currently I'm sticking to it. I will try to find more quiet places to make these videos, to record these videos. I'll try asking around my family, maybe they know places. But in the meanwhile, this path is not very occupied, populous. I don't know. Not a lot of people go here, so I can try and speak English more freely to my phone without being embarrassed. Well, I don't remember if I said it to begin with, but I'm from Israel, from Central Israel. My native language is Hebrew, and I learned English starting at 3rd grade. Now, whatever I learned in 3rd grade was not great. The experience was awful, and I really couldn't connect to the language. It sounded stupid, and just everything about it was stupid. I still believe to this day that English is a stupid language, but at least I learned to appreciate its sound. Since 3rd grade, I watch TV and movies, primarily The Simpsons and South Park, and my English skills improved basically from those two, because apparently watching something in a different language for a long time can help you learn it, which is nice. I remember very distinctly that in some early year learning English, I learned about the verb to come, to arrive somewhere, and I knew come, C-O-M-E. But when I watched The Simpsons, I think Marge talked about Homer, and she said he came somewhere, as in C-A-M-E. And I read the subtitles, and before I heard the word, and the subtitles said Uba, where ba means to come. Or alternatively, Hegia, which is another word for that, to arrive. So I heard that word. I read that word, and somewhere in my brain lit up and said, oh, I should expect the word come. And suddenly they said came. And it clicked in my head, and I said, oh, that sounds very similar but different. Maybe it has something to do with the time, with it being the past and not the present. And later at school we learned about past tense, and suddenly it all made sense. Because of course when you learn tenses, you first learn the generic ed in the end to denote past, but very quickly the teacher goes on to the exceptions, like came instead of come. So that was probably my first positive experience with English. Since then, I still didn't really connect with the language. I didn't like it. I didn't like my teachers. I somewhat purposely failed my exams. It didn't go well. That is until 8th. See, that's something I have a difficulty saying. 8th grade. I don't know. I wanted to go to a different high school. I was in the second year of middle school, and in Israel you have 3 years. In middle school, years 7 to 9, and for year 10 you go to the high school, to a high school. And I didn't really like the people at school, and I wanted to go to somewhere else, a more technologically advanced and focused school. And to do that, I needed to have reasonable grades. And unfortunately, my worst grade was in English. I was practically failing that class. And when I talked to the high school, they said, you have to improve your English grade, otherwise you can't come and study in our school. So I just flipped the switch in my brain. I played along, and I very easily passed English. Not at a stellar grade or score, but I passed. And I went to the high school I wanted, which is a unique high school in that it is 4 years long, starting at 9th instead of the 10th. From that point on, I was okay with English, I suppose. But in 9th grade or 10th one, I noticed that my ability to build sentences, to construct them, was very lacking. I sounded very, very stupid. I tried to write something for an assignment for school, and when I read it out loud, the teacher laughed. He laughed at me because it sounded so stupid. And I can't blame him because it did sound very stupid. So I flipped another switch in my brain, and from that point on, I was very, very good at English. Like, very good at English, comparatively speaking, to the Israeli populace. Or population, I don't know. So I finished high school English with high scores, 90 something out of 100, at the almost highest level of final exams, which is another topic. And since then I just talked to people online. I played video games online. It was the time of MapleStory, and I got a chance to type out English, which wasn't a thing that was available before to me. My internet was almost strictly Hebrew. So I practiced typing out English and reading English also. But speaking still wasn't a thing. I didn't have anyone to talk to in English. It wasn't until late high school that I noticed that I even joined English-speaking groups online. And when we had Skype calls, maybe after high school, I don't know, but when we had Skype calls, I couldn't speak fluently. Words would just get stuck in my mouth. Like, imagine if your tongue just completely blocked your mouth from the inside. I couldn't bring the words out. It wasn't because I didn't want to, it was because speaking English in the Hebrew mouth is very foreign. It is very, very foreign. The accents are not very compatible. We have different letters. Our R's and L's are different, and we don't have the sound of TH, which is why I had difficulty saying the class years. 8th. I mean, I can say 8. I can't say that word with TH in the end. It just doesn't work. Just a moment. I just can't say that because my mouth doesn't allow it. Hopefully these videos will help me overcome that. So when I got to Skype calls, I found that blockage of speech. And back in 2012 or 2011 or something, I had a dream of going to the United States. Even before that, in 2010, I wanted to go to the United States, but I set forth a path of a long military service. From 2010, I wanted to study at university, and afterwards I would inevitably serve in the Israeli Defense Forces, or IDF for short, and do the mandatory 3 years. And because they allowed me to study before my service, I would have to do 3 more years afterwards. So I set a path from 2010, when I was 18, to 2020, which is this year. But fortunately, the plans didn't go as well. I didn't finish my degree at the university, and the military told me to stop, and they recruited me for only 3 years, and I finished my service in 2015. So now I'm a free man, getting my degree at my own pace, and I'm not a soldier anymore, even though it is 2020. The reason I brought it up is because most Israeli people who serve in the military usually go on a trip when they finish their service. The trip is usually to some country that allows drugs, and just hanging around, lounging, like in East Asia or South America. People just want to get away from the life they had and the strict military regime. I don't know if regime is the word. Regiment, lifestyle, I don't know. They just want to break the habit of waking up early every day and shaving and wearing the same uniform day in, day out. So they go places around the world. They want to see the world. after being locked in Israel for at least 3 years, or 2 in the case of women. My desire was not to go to Asia or South America. I wanted to go to the United States because I'm a realistic person, and I know that I want to travel to places where I can communicate and get my point across and be understood. And being understood is a key thing for traveling, I think, because nobody likes going to the middle of nowhere and get stuck in a village where nobody speaks a language you understand, and nobody speaks, and you can speak any language that they can understand. So I want to go to places that speak English, and what better place is there other than the United States of America, where I learned my English from, and I watched on TV and movies and know the American culture from the way Hollywood portrays it. So my dream was to go to America, North America. But when I talked to those people on Skype, I realized my ability to speak English was very, very limited, which was bad. Because I did want to talk to people, I did want to communicate, I didn't want to start a sentence and have a word blockage. Fortunately, speaking enough with those people on Skype was sufficient enough to help me get past that blockage. And as you can hear me speaking right now, I get hung on sentences, trying to think about the sentence as I go along, but the sentence itself is not very, I'm saying right now, it's not very segmented. The words themselves don't get stuck, but my line of thought. And that's a good thing, because my line of thought is the bottleneck also for Hebrew speaking. So at least that's not the language that is the bottleneck itself. And it most certainly isn't, for the most part, my vocabulary. So these videos, I hope, will help me further improve my ability to speak English, to better my pronunciation. And the accent you can hear me speaking right now is not a typical Israeli accent. The Israeli accent speaking English is terrible, I believe. I always believe that. Israeli people who speak English, most always sound very dumb, stupid, I don't know. Now, having that thought about the accent you speak yourself, it's not great. It's not great for it's not great for self-esteem online, knowing that you embody the very accent that you really, really despise. So somewhere around high school or so, I tried to change my accent forcefully. I forced myself to learn how to pronounce th, the. I mean, I want to say it properly, but it's not perfect. and I came up with this accent, this Frankenstein of an accent, trying to imitate American English, but not exactly. I mean, there is just so much I can do trying to imitate a foreign accent, but I'm getting there. Whatever I have coming out of my mouth is good enough to separate me from the general Israeli population outside of Israel speaking English, because in Hebrew I'm very average. I'm very normal, modern Hebrew speaking Israeli, because I was born in Israel and so were my parents, so I don't have any other language affecting my Hebrew other than English, but that was at a very later age, so you know. Now, between Hebrew and English, pronunciation is different. I talked about it earlier. The R, L, TH, I mean the, maybe other aspects like stressing of syllables and other things that they're just foreign, besides the grammar and vocabulary. And what I'm trying to do is... Sorry, there's a bike. It got stuck, I think. I want to try and improve my ability to pronounce these letters as opposed to the grammar, because I think my grammar is right and my vocabulary can be improved from the internet and books, but pronunciation can only be improved by pronouncing, and hopefully these vlogs will be enough to help me improve on these aspects. Pardon the squishing parts, the sounds. It rained the other day and it is kind of muddy. Okay. And yeah, I think that's about it. In other videos, I think I said it already, I want to talk about hopefully more informative topics about perspective, the Israeli perspective on things, despite me not being a very good model Israeli citizen. I don't really know the country so well, despite living here all my life. My political view is not very solid, but we'll see. I generally don't like politics, and so my view on them is limited and not very deep. It's very shallow. I don't wholeheartedly vote. I mean, I vote. Recently we had 3 elections in the last year. The last election was a few days ago. So I vote, but I don't wholly endorse the people I voted for. And as such, I don't think of myself as someone credible enough to talk politics and try to explain it to the internet. I usually try to be informative and to teach topics that I know inside and out. and not just partially. But we'll see. I would appreciate if you left me some feedback in the comments, maybe some ideas on what to talk about, what you'd like to hear about. And yeah.